Starting simple with our first game, Jag the Giant, here I am in a 2D project. And the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to create a folder where we are going to save our scenes. And our scenes are going to represent our gameplay. So this right here that we see where we have this camera, so this rectangle that we see, this is our scene. Anything that we put here will be visible in this camera if it's within this rectangle area, and that will be in our game what we see and with which we can interact with, or the game objects that we can interact with. Of course, I can, move this camera up and down, so on and so forth, but I'm going to reposition it back here at 0 for the X and for the Y. But I just wanted to point out that this is our scene, and we can also move the camera left, right, up and down, so on and so forth. So the first thing, as I said, what we are going to do is we are going to right click here. So right click it and then go on create. And here we are going to click on folder. So we are going to create a new folder and we are going to name it scenes. Now we can save our scene by going here in our file and clicking save scene, or on Windows hold Control and press S, or on Mac hold Command and press S. So I'm going to hold Command and press S, and this is going to prompt us to save the scene. So here in our assets, in our scenes, and I'm going to name it to our gameplay scene. So this is going to be our scene gameplay. Next, we are going to import our game assets. Now, the first thing that I want to emphasize is the organization in the project. So here we have created a folder for our scenes. We are going to create a separate folder for our fonts, for our sounds, our sprites, so on and so forth. So it's really, really important that we organize our project. So it's a really, not to say stupid, but we can say stupid idea to create only one folder and put everything inside that one folder. Animations, scripts, and everything, don't put that in a single folder. Instead, make a separate folder for everything. So we're going to create a player script. We are going to have a separate folder for the player script. We are going to create the script for our clouds. We are going to have a separate folder for that, which we are going to see later in the course. But I just wanted to emphasize that because it's really, really important that we organize our project. That being said, as I said, we are going to have a font folder. So for our fonts, so here I'm going to save fonts. We are also going to have a folder for our sounds, and we are going to have a folder for our sprites. So here I'm going to say sprites. We can create each folder like this and then drag each individual asset. So in our fonts, we are going to drag fonts. In our sounds, we are going to drag sounds, so on and so forth. But what we can do, and I can delete all of these folders except for the scene folder, we can create those folders outside of Unity. So we can create them here in our, Finder for my Mac, or in your documents for Windows, or any other place, even on the desktop. So you can create these folders like this and place here everything that you want. Also place here the buttons. Here we are going to place the sounds. Here we are going to put our fonts, so on and so forth, any asset that you have. So then we can simply select all of these folders and drag them here in our Unity editor. And as we see, Unity is going to import these folders and along with it all of these assets. So here we have our font, here we have our sounds, and here we have our sprites. One other thing that we can do while we are here is that we can configure our assets. So here we can configure our background. So this is our game background that we are going to use in our game. The first one, so game background, not game background 2. And if I select it, and here in our inspector panel, we see the import settings for our background. So we see that this is imported as a sprite, as it should be, because this is a 2D game. And the sprite mode is single. We are going to talk about sprite mode multiple when we are going to slice our player and create his animations. But what I want to talk about is this, the size, the format, and this generate bitmaps. We see here in this bottom right corner the size of our image. So it's 480 by 800. This is going to be our reference resolution by which we are going to create our game. And we see here that we have this 1.5 megabytes, which is the size of this asset in our game. Now, this is not the storage memory size. This is the size in graphics memory that this image is going to take. So if I uncheck generate mipmaps, and here for the max size, we can put it at 1024. Because here we see that the size is 480 for the width and 800 for the height. So we can set the size to be 1024 because that's the number that is higher than each of these numbers. If here we would have, I don't know, 1280 by 720, then we can set, for example, 2048, so on and so forth. This is going to determine the quality of our graphics in our game. So, as a general rule, we are going to set the number that's higher than these two numbers. That way we are going to have a more quality on our graphics. So we are going to set it at 1024, and for the format we are going to set it to be at true color. So true color is going to be the best quality for our asset. Notice now when I hit apply button here, or the apply button, notice this size here in megabytes is going to change. So if I hit it now, we see that the size is 1.1 megabyte. So we see that the size is smaller and we are going to have a better quality. So this is for our game background. You can do the same for each of our other backgrounds. So here we have our high score background, and this is the one that we are going to use, or excuse me, we are going to use probably this one. So background 3. This is the one that we are going to use, high score background 3. And we see here the size for this one is 720 by 1024. Again, for this one, we can uncheck generate mipmaps, and we can set here 1024 and set the true color and hit apply. For our options menu background, this is the one that we are going to use. So options background 2. The same way as we have configured our high score background, we are going to uncheck generate mipmaps. We are going to set it 1024 for the size and true color for the format and hit apply. So this is for our backgrounds. Now for our buttons, we are going to slice them a little bit later, but we can configure them. So we see their size is 256. So we can set here, uncheck this generate mipmaps. By the way, this generate mipmaps is for 3D, and because this is a 2D game, we can simply uncheck it because, well, we don't need it. And you can set the size at 256 and true color and then hit apply. The same way for our menu button. So the size, or here, excuse me, uncheck generate mipmaps. The size is going to be 256, and for the format true color, hit apply. For the pause panel and for our game over panel, we can set the size to be at, first uncheck generate mipmaps, and we can set the size at 256, true color, hit apply. And now for our gameplay, we have here our gameplay elements, and we also have our player. So what I'm going to do for the player, I'm going to set here 200 or 512 for the max size, because here we have 381 pixels by 250. So if we set it 256, that's the number that's less than 381. So we can set it at 512 to have a little bit more quality and set the format to true color, but we are going to set the sprite mode to multiple because this is a sprite sheet, and we are going to see later on that we are going to slice our player. And we are going to do the same thing for our gameplay elements. So set the sprite mode multiple, uncheck generate mipmaps, and here we are going to set the format at 512, true color for the format, and hit apply. So this is practically for our backgrounds and for our game assets or graphical assets, simply configuring them, and here we have imported everything. In the next video, we are going to create our player animations, and we are going to see how can we actually use this sprite mode multiple and how can we slice our player in each individual pieces. Because we have it here as a sprite sheet, So I don't want to stall anymore. We are going to stop here, and in the next video we are going to continue.